Good morning, guided group members. This is Mrs. Engel coming at you from her kitchen table. Today, I'm going to review some of the things that I noticed about the Pearl work that you guys did yesterday. But in addition, I heard that a couple of you had a tough time finding it. One of the mistakes that I kind of see students do a lot is they will go into their Google Drive and then they will just try to search for it in their Google Drive. Really, the best way that you can get to it is you can get to the class, okay? And then you can scroll down the stream until you see my name, okay? So you'll notice the difference between Mrs. Angel and me posting. Another way to do it is to always go up into classwork because that's where the categories are. And then you'll notice if you scroll down, you'll see V-Learning Ingalls Guided. So today I kind of wanted to go over the different questions. One thing that I noticed yesterday is some people almost like highlighted the first half green and the second half red. And that's not necessarily wrong. You will notice that in my answers here, there is a lot of green in the first half. One word that I have my students look for a lot is the word but. And you'll notice in this paragraph, there are 3 buts. This one, but now, but having set it up, and but easily. Because what but lets us know is that it's going to start out positive to negative or negative to positive. It really does give us a lot of information. So yes, that first half, warmth, security, purring like a I was going to say chicken, a kitten. But now, this wasn't actually negative. Okay, this was just kind of giving you some information, but saying what his future is going to be like he created it. So that was that level 2 question. What does Kino believe his plan is like? He believes that a plan is a real thing and things projected are experienced. So this was something that a lot of students didn't quite understand. They would copy this and then they would paste it into level 2. But then I would ask them, what does projected is experienced mean? And to be honest, I don't think people know. So I'm going to do a little reteaching on that. If you think about that word projected, it reminds us of the word projector. Okay, so this was the closest thing I could find to what you might see in our own classroom, right? This is called a projector, and it shoots a light and an image onto a screen. So pretend that you are this projector, okay? And then pretend that someone else is on the screen. And you're using your light, your expectations, and your beliefs, and you're placing them on this person. Another way to see this is if you are a spotlight shining your light onto an actor, okay? A lot of times in junior high, people will really do this with their crushes, let's say, okay? So this person is their own person. Let's say that this person, I'm going to use a metaphor, okay? Maybe this person is a Samsung Galaxy phone, but you want them to be an iPhone 11. So even though they're a Samsung, okay, you are projecting onto them that they're more like an iPhone, okay, even though that may or may not be true. So when you go back to Kino, he was saying what his future was going to be like. Things are projected and experienced. A plan once made visualized becomes a reality among all realities. So if we think about that, at the beginning, all the townspeople projected onto Kino because he was poor and he didn't have much, that he wasn't really worth anything. So they weren't really going to bother him. But in Kino and Juana's mind, even though they were poor, they had that song of the family, right? They were really happy with each other. But once Kino found the pearl and he started making dreams about how he could provide for his family a little bit more, Then the townspeople started to project upon Kino all of their wants and desires too. All of a sudden, Kino became worth something, if you will. And their projections upon Kino made him afraid. So he closed his hand over the pearl, right? He cut off the light, he cut off the joy of what that could possibly bring. And their projections on Kino, their second projections that now he's worth something, and so they need to go get it from him, creates this song of evil to arise in Kino. And now it's changing him. So how people project either positivity or negativity on us actually causes our behavior to change. So I really kind of wanted to talk about that line here where it said, because a lot of people just kind of copied and pasted, things projected are experienced. So we're kind of foreshadowing a little bit here that because Kino is now becoming defensive, he's like, I know I can make these positive things happen for my family, but because these other people are projecting their negative thoughts and their own greediness upon him, it's causing Kino to bring stuff up to feel that he needs to protect himself from all of that. So I really wanted to clarify what things projected are experienced is, because I saw a lot of students just copy and paste that into here. But I kept asking over and over again, what does it mean things projected are experienced? So I hope that helps clarify things today. The next thing is, how does Kino believe the gods will see him, and what does he plan to do about it? Now, this is interesting. In Flowers for Algernon, you guys are talking about illusions, okay? How Charlie and Miss Keenan are kind of being compared to the biblical story of Adam and Eve, at least in certain parts of it. And so, whether you know it or not, when they talk about the gods here, and the gods take their revenge on man if he be successful through his own efforts. So this was really a common belief way back in the day, and a lot of illusions that we talked about is either biblical illusions, but another one that gets brought up is Greek illusions. And so one of the things that I'm going to post in today's, it's just, for fun, there's no assignment that goes with it, is that when you get to high school, you're going to read a story called The Odyssey. And it's about a man named Odysseus. It's after the Trojan War, and he's trying to go home. But he basically kind of gets his ego in the way, and he says that the whole war was won because of him, which actually angers the god Poseidon, because Poseidon was the one who helped kind of like give the idea of how to win the war to Odysseus. So I'm going to put a little clip in here that kind of shows Odysseus and Poseidon kind of having some issues with each other. And then that illusion also got brought up in the movie Forrest Gump, Praying for Shrimp, when Lieutenant Dan kind of challenges Forrest Gump, where is this God of yours? So just kind of watch that today. You can kind of compare and contrast the two, because that actually is kind of also brought up in the Pearl, kind of in this section, this idea that, God doesn't want man to be successful on his own. God wants like credit for man's success. Okay. So I just kind of put that in there as like a bonus, if you will, like a level 5. So that leads us to today. It's Thursday, March 19, 2020. And you're going to read this line again. A plan once made and visualized becomes a reality among other realities. But what I decided to do, instead of just limit you to this one idea, I decided as I was going back in here to give you the choice between 3 ideas to write about today. Okay. One of the idea is that reality, when you visualize it, it becomes real. But I also wanted to give you the opportunity of maybe when something was projected upon you, or you projected it upon someone. So that's option number 2. And then option number 3 is kind of this idea of God showing up. So I'm going to go through my examples. Again, we've been talking about like the different levels. When you answer something, whether it is summarizing a piece of text or analyzing a piece of text, you want to try to get down to level 5. Level 1 is who, level 2 is did what, level 3 is so, level 4 is why is it important, and level 5 is that deeper thinking. So here's my example 1. The other thing that I've noticed with students is that a lot of times if I put like a little graphic organizer, people will answer the questions, but they won't put them into paragraph format. So I have 3 examples here of showing you how I took those and then I put them into a whole paragraph. So here's when a thought became reality. You'll notice also visually that a level 1, like if they stopped at the red line, that's pretty little. That's kind of like, you hardly did anything. Level 2 is you're still, only like 2 sentences. You're still way below grade level. Level 3 is you're approaching grade level. You can notice how much the text increases then. Level 4 is now you're at grade level. And level 5 is you're at grade level and you're thinking even more deeply. And everyone is capable of doing this. Everyone is capable of reaching a level 5. And I wanted you to see that. So here's an example of when thought becomes reality. You'll notice that in the purple parts is the actual thing that we're writing about, okay? So when thought became a reality, and then also when you have your who, I put in a little hook or some background information. That's why it's a little bit longer. Since I was little, I loved to dance and perform. One day, I was a freshman in high school. I heard that there were going to be cheerleading tryouts. Even though I had never done cheerleading before, I really wanted to make the team. So I went to the meeting where the girls who were already cheerleaders would teach those who wanted to become cheerleaders the routine that they'd have to perform for tryouts. Every day I'd practice the routine over and over again. On the day of tryouts, I was so nervous, but all of my hard work paid off. I not only made the team, but I was the only freshman to make the team. So that kind of talks about why that's important. Now my deeper level thinking. By the time I was a senior in high school, I became the cheerleading captain. This goes to show that if you put your mind to it and stay focused, you can make your dream a reality. So notice that deeper level thinking is almost like the lesson that I learned here. Here we go. Psychological projection example. When I was in school, and again, that did what is an action. So you'll notice struggled is an action. If you go back up here, I heard that is an action. When I was in school, I struggled with learning, especially math. There's that background information, right? And because I struggled so much, many teachers didn't think I was ready to go to college. So teachers were projecting their idea of who I was onto me because of my struggle. So, and here's how I reacted because of how they thought of me. So I thought I wasn't smart enough to go to college. This is important because my teachers' thoughts about me affected my own self-esteem and what I thought I was, or in this case, wasn't capable of. So now I'm taking it down to that deeper level thinking. On the other hand, so notice that one way to take it down to a deeper level thinking is to show like a little lesson or how it affected you over time. Another way to show deeper level thinking is to do the opposite, okay? So while my teachers didn't really think much of me, on the other hand, my stepdad thought that I was capable of going to college, which was an example of positive projection. Okay, so maybe what I should do here is kind of put it in that purple. You'll notice that I kind of talk about the actual answer a couple times, like in the beginning and generally in the end. So that was an example of positive projection that turned my life around and got me to think differently about myself. And because of his positive projection, I am a teacher today. Okay. All right, so here's the last example, worried about or when God showed up. So it could be negative or positive, right? Many people have their own idea of what God does or does not look like. So that's kind of like my little hook, okay? In the past, I used some background information, so you could do either way. I believe God can show up in human form. In fact, many human forms. So again, that's almost like restating the question there. Here's my background information, so you could do both, either background and or hook. Back in 2014, I was diagnosed with stage 3B breast cancer. The day before, here's that action, I had to leave work to get treatment. God showed up in the form of hundreds of Keller students and staff members, all wearing pink shirts that said Keller Cares. It was also notice that my so doesn't always start with so. Let me go back up here. This one started with so, and this one started with so. But if you start moving into a higher level, you might not actually have the so, you just might how it flows in. I mean, you could actually put the word so in here. So it was a very overwhelming day. But notice I'm getting a little bit higher level, so I'm taking that so out and just saying it was a very overwhelming day, which makes it sound less like a formula. It was a very overwhelming day for me to see hundreds of people supporting me and wishing me well. They say that there is something to the power of prayer as well as where wishes. I think it's true. So again, you notice I don't say this is important because. I could insert that here. This is important because they say there is. But as I start to get to a higher level, I might even start with that sentence starter, and then I might be able to delete it out so that it sounds less like a formula. They say there is something to the power of prayer and well wishes. I think it's true. Because of all the support I got during that difficult time, I'm able to say that today it's been 5 years since I've been cancer free. Now I'm taking it to that deeper level thinking. Even today, you may still see several staff members wearing those shirts, which is kind of bittersweet. Bitter because it's a painful memory of all the difficulties I faced once I left the building that day. Sweet because it reminds me of how God showed up in the form of hundreds of humans, and it's a good reminder that they are still out there today. All right, I hope that this clarifies what you need to do today and kind of deepens your level of understanding of the questions that I asked you yesterday. So again, today's Thursday, March 19th, 2020. You're going to continue with this same assignment that you were working on yesterday, except you're going to do almost this part B, where you're going to choose one of those three topics of when something you wanted became reality, of when somebody, either you or somebody else, psychologically projected on you and how that affected you, and when you were worried about or when God actually showed up. I hope all is going well, and we will touch base as we always do.